Good morning. The first time was jolting. Welcome. Thank you for coming out in the cold, you stalwart souls. This is a congregation that we organize around covenant, not creed. All of us don't think alike, and we don't sit in a room and agree on stuff and nod very often. We generally have lively discussions and different opinions. And still, the covenant of this church is that we will treat one another respectfully and that we will try to walk in the world with compassion and understanding and work for justice. We value differing paths and opinions, and for that reason, whoever joins us, whoever you are, whatever age, race, origin, orientation, background, status, ability, identity, if you care to be here with us, you're welcome. We front load the services with a little bit of information. I don't know if we have a board person of the James Peck is going to share some announcements.
We need everybody to stay for the congregational meeting directly after this service this morning. We are voting on the budget and some nominating committee members, so please stay. We need a quorum to be able to conduct business. If you have not submitted your pledge for 2026, that is part of the budget that we need to have for planning purposes. So please, the email that you get every week has a link to submit your pledge form. There's forms, I believe, in the lobby. If you were planning on going to World Religion Day this afternoon, I'm afraid that has been canceled, so don't head that way. They were not able to pull that together. We have our giveaway the plate recipient for this month, which is anything that goes into the baskets in the back that is not earmarked, or if you're giving online, you can put give away the plate as the recipient. That is the League of Women Voters of Caddo Bossier, which they put out a really good voting guide. Every time we have an election that gives a kind of nonpartisan explanation of both sides of issues. Our volunteer of the month is Eric First, which Eric does tons and tons. Building and grounds extraordinaire, bringer of all baked goods, game night attendee, and Owen has been a former board president, I know. So thank Eric for everything that he does for our church. Highland Blessing Dinner this Thursday is our night to host, so please come and help at the Highland Center for Highland Blessing Dinner. And we have our Mardi Gras Highland Parade Party at our house, at the Russell Peck household, so come and enjoy in 2 weeks, February 15th, thank you, right after Valentine's. That's all the announcements I have, thanks.
I think we're probably back in the copy room, so I don't know that our education director will share. Oh, she's over there. Thank you. Okay, you didn't have announcements this morning?
Except that I think the volunteer lab just walked in.
Yeah. And we're going to be needing more help with the building and grounds coordination. So if you are remotely interested in that, I hope you'll talk to us after the service. All right. May turn off the ringer of your phone if you haven't done it, and relax into your seat and let your thoughts and feet try to be in a close proximity, maybe even in the same spot. Take a few comfortable breaths, whatever that means for you, and let us enter a spirit of worship, which is elevating and contemplating matters of worth. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart, compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Our first reading this morning comes from Burton Carley, who was the first called minister of this congregation. Burton wrote, "We gather on this Sabbath morn to worship in spirit and truth, to raise a joyful noise to the eternal mystery, to confirm our covenant, to seek wisdom in love, to strengthen our commitment to the common good. We come from many paths to explore that which is hidden, to consider the ways of our hearts, to confess how we have stumbled, to heal what is broken. We assemble in the effort to quicken our compassion and mercy, to deepen our understanding, to renew our courage, to remember who we are. Thus do we celebrate the gift and grace of the gift of life and practice our faith to the greater glory of the Spirit." It is now, this is from Tanya Marquez. It is now when we are called as witnesses of the world to mend it, to change its course, to restore it. It is now when we are called to act on our values, to act on our values, not to hide, not to fear, but to be bold and sometimes loud. It is now that we are called to continue our fight for justice, to organize, to speak up. It is now. Let us gather, let us give each other courage, and let us elevate and contemplate those things that matter. Do we have anyone that would like to help with the first part of our chalice lighting this morning? Miss Susan? In the hallway? There's some in the balcony running sound for us.
You gonna come help me, Jackson? Yeah. That'd be awesome, thank you. And anybody in the foyer that wants to join us is welcome too. We won't let me in the choir, but. We will so.
You have never come to choir.
She's tried and we weren't having it, so.
Oh, really? Okay.
They said, "Do you know over the river and through the woods?" And I said, "No." They said, "That's where you need to go."
But that's not what we said.
But Jesus-
All right, you ready? We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the helping hands. This is the church of the loving heart. Together, with mind, hands, and heart, we care for the earth and for each other. Thanks.
Thanks, Johnson. Our chalice is a reminder that in hard times, our ancestors in faith acted for courage to bring hope and safety, to bring life itself to threatened people. We light it today as a reminder of who we are called to be in a world still dangerous and despairing. With courage and faith, we bring ourselves to the work before us. The word courage comes from the Latin word cor, which means heart. According to poet Mark Nepo, the original use of the word courage meant to stand by one's core. A striking concept that reinforces the belief found in almost all traditions that living from the center is what enables us to face whatever life has to offer. To encourage means to hearten, to impart strength and confidence. This is our work as a religious community, to encourage one another, to be bold in engaging the world around us, as well as what scares us internally, to give one another the confidence and heart to live as fully as possible. So we affirm our relationships with one another. We recognize our agency and our connective power. And we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous. We light this chalice, symbol of all that we are, all that we have done together, and all that we will be as we encourage those within and beyond our walls. Would you please rise in body or spirit and say with me the unison affirmation? Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the sacred. Thus do we covenant with each other. Our opening hymn is Come and Go With Me, and I just pulled the socket out of that. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be free. So come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Thank y'all. You're sounding good out there.
So this morning, Reverend Barbara's going to be talking to the grown-ups about starlings, the birds that you'll see kind of flying in these big swarms called Murmurations, hence the title of the service. And she's going to get through the whole thing today, so we're excited about that. And talk about how humans can learn from that example. And so I did a little digging around and found that there are lots of animals that actually work together in community. I mean, there's some clues up here, but who knows something about animals that work together in community? Yeah, Ava. Oh yeah, the birds that keep the bugs off the cows. Yeah, the cowbirds. Yeah. I mean that's okay, so that's like cross-species community. That's, what is that, symbiosis, is that right? Symbiotic, thank you, yes. Yeah, Susan. Honeybees and ants. Oh yeah, they both have really complex little societies. Yeah, where everybody kind of has a job. And you know what other animal is like that? One that you might not want to think about that much. Huh? Roaches. Yeah. In that same kind of household venue, termites. Termites have really complex societies where different termites have different functions. So, anybody know of any, and it's okay if you take a few clues from anybody know anything about elephants? So elephants almost always live together in a herd that's headed by a matriarch, by a mom. By one of the moms, and they will work together to hunt, to forage, to find food, and to take care of the babies. Dolphins can live in these pods that can number in the hundreds. There can be hundreds of dolphins that are part of a dolphin community, and they have communication skills, you've probably heard about it, based on echolocation and based on their vocalizations, so that they can communicate with each other. And again, they hunt together, they play together, they take care of the young dolphins together. Gorillas, we know about Dame Jane Goodall, who recently passed away, who worked a lot with, she worked with the chimpanzees, but gorillas also live in really close-knit family groups and, again, work together to care for their children. They're usually led by a dominant silverback gorilla, but they all share responsibilities and they have really strong bonds. Now, cats are mostly kind of solitary animals, except when they want to wake you up in the morning on your face like this. But the one cat that will function really well in a group is the lion. Lions have what they call a pride. And they work together, and again, they hunt together, they take care of the babies together. Let's see, and I think if you go to the next slide. And we showed a video about this before. The penguins in Antarctica are fascinating because they will all get in a group, and first of all, the male penguins take care of the eggs, and then the hatchlings, when they hatch, while the moms, the female penguins, go out to find food, and sometimes they have to go really far. So the males will all be huddled together with the eggs kind of underneath them, or the hatchlings, once they hatch, kind of underneath them. And they have this pattern where they will be in a big kind of round huddle, and nobody ever stays too close to the inside or too close to the outside. They don't want anybody to get too cold on the outside, so they're kind of in constant motion to make sure that everybody gets a turn at the warm spot in the middle, but then they don't want to get too warm, you know, so they just keep kind of moving around. Wolves live in highly organized packs. They're really bonded, take care of each other, hunt for food together, and take care of their pups together. Anybody who's ever seen Meerkat Manor, you know that meerkats are very, very social. They've got just extraordinarily complex little communities, and they'll watch for predators. You know, they have somebody that's on guard duty watching for predators. They're always working together. Again, working together. What's the pattern we're hearing? Working together to do what? To survive, and also take care of each other, and take care of the little ones. Take care. You know what? There's something I love to say in church is that there's no such thing as other people's children. You know what I mean? We all have children. We all have children, and we all take care of them together. And finally, the orcas. I couldn't leave them out. The orca whales, and we all know that sometimes they've been prone to attack yachts. I want you to know they're not just attacking yachts, they're teaching their babies how to attack yachts. This is an educational moment for the young orcas. But seriously, they have these really big social, cohesive family units, and they pass down hunting skills, they pass down like the different social rules of the group. It's very complex. And the young ones rely on their pod for protection and for learning. So what can we learn from all of these animals? What can we learn? Take care of each other. Yeah. Work together. Yeah. Cooperation is key. We all get a lot farther, right, when we're all working together and when we're thinking about this person over here and this person over here, and what do they need and what can we do? What do we have that they might need? Yeah, Ava. And realizing we're all interdependent. Yes. Good word. That's the I in JetPig. Anybody else got any ideas of what we learned?
I didn't hear anything about competition, about how we're competing with each other to advance our own careers.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? About competition, competing with each other to advance our own careers? Yeah, where does that get us?
Follow the rules unless you're making art.
Follow the rules unless you're making art. I love that. Or sometimes music too. You know, Bach made the rules and he broke a bunch of them. So art, music is art. That's true. That's true. All right, let's sing the children anew to their class. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Now, part of this reading, if you were on the internet last week for the service, you will have heard, but not all of it. So, an opening quote for this is from David Byrne. Birds that live on the forest floor evolved lower-pitched calls so they don't bounce or become distorted by the ground as higher-pitched sounds might. Water birds have calls that unsurprisingly cut through the ambient sound of water And birds that live in the plains and grasslands, like the savanna sparrow, have buzzing calls that can traverse long distances. And birds of the same species adjust their singing as their habitat changes. Birds in San Francisco were found to have raised the pitch of their songs over 40 years in order to be better heard above the noises in the increased traffic. From Jake Morrow. Just as birds sing differently because you're there, you live differently for the presence of birds. That's not a poetic notion, but an ecological fact. I live in a rust-colored landscape of low hills and thin creeks, teeming with the creatures of Appalachia and coursing with the rhythms of how life is here. Your landscape may be different. How we live plays a part in what happens out there, and what happens out there plays a part in our lives. But landscape isn't sown only from the fabric of space. We also inhabit a landscape of time, the grassy patch of a day, the rough meadow of a year, the old-growth forest of a decade with the light pouring in. When the pandemic hit, my calendar dissolved just like sugar in water. Days and weeks ran together. I stopped changing my clothes. For a while, I am told, my hygiene could have been better. Then a friend of mine died. I wanted to rewind the tape to get to say all the things I'd been meaning to say. But then someone said he was in the arms of the eternal. And that made me think, because eternity is a word that can have different meanings. It can be an endless duration, the train on its tracks chugging ineluctably forth with no stations ahead. But it can also be the expanse to either side of those tracks, the wilderness there, and the ocean beyond. It's the second ever-present eternal, the wilderness and the ocean I'm learning to visit. Prayer and meditation can make a trail to it. So can a dream. Or sweeping the kitchen if it's done mindfully. All our beloved dead are there, as is that within us, and the world which we may be tempted to count as lost. And all of that is yet to be. Who can say how you've been hurtling through all these disturbing days, flung from morning to night, one story after another, all of it such a far cry from what you had planned and may have trusted? All I know is that the wilderness alongside every moment, sprawling in each direction, holds more than the silence that theologians imagine of God. Listen, there's something like birdsong, sweeter for the simple, holy fact of your life. It calls even now from the forested edge of the day to awaken that which within you has always been there, so you know what to follow as you make your way home. Holy mystery, source, and oneness, lead us into green pastures by still waters where we will know peace and the kinship of all souls, and will at last be about the work of mercy and justice for as long as we live. bird in my carport sure makes a mess every spring as she's building and tending her nest. And right before summer, I hear her chicks calling, but their ruckus settles down long before autumn. She joins her brigade where they sit side by side, audition as targets atop power lines. One late afternoon, when it gets wintertime, those vast murmurations all take to the sky. Starling, darling, remind me. Starling, simply by flying. Ethereal motion that makes poets cry and mirrors the spilling hearts of lovers nearby. Suddenly, all of that mess from my spring transforms into beauty I wish I could sing. There's wonder and healing that flow from your dance, a comforting clue we might still have a chance. Can we tend 7 neighbors so flocks overlap, and simple compassion can cover the map? Starling, darling, remind me. Starlings, simply by flying. That song is still changing every time I play it. Some of you were online with us last week for our efforts at a snowed-in virtual service. And if you were with us, you know that my sermon last week was also called Murmurations. The other folks here may not know that the power went out at my house in the middle of the sermon, and I didn't get to finish it because I lost internet access. Because the participants of last week's service seemed to really want to hear the rest of the service, and because a good many of you were unable to attend that part of it, it was suggested that I may make another run at it. Thus, Murmurations Take 2. I will be repeating a good bit of the information from last week, but hopefully reach my conclusion before the close of this service. Last week, I reminded us that we began the school year by studying our Unitarian Universalist identity and values. Then we moved on to the Jewish and Christian heritage from which a lot of parts of this tradition have arisen. And now in our children and youth religious education classes, we've moved on to study the pillar or study topic of world religion. Our annual community celebration of World Religion Day was also originally scheduled for last Sunday, but was ultimately canceled. Our adult religious education class is still finishing up a book by one of our past UUA, Unitarian Universalist Association presidents, John Burens. titled Understanding the Bible. So we're straddling topics in some ways, and I hope to touch on a tad on both of those and maybe some of our other study topics today too. We know that it isn't just Jesus of Nazareth that called people of faith to live in such a way that we show compassion and caring for our neighbors and strangers. Buddhism, paganism, Hinduism, and Islam all call for kindness and compassion. What each of those traditions understands the source and spirit of life to be is different. What each teaches about what happens after this life is unique, in some ways at least, to that tradition. They may even have different views about what justice is and what part we have to play in it. But all of them believe compassion is a significant part of an honorable character and a worthwhile aspect of spiritual maturity. Growing in our capacity for compassion is a lifelong undertaking, isn't it? Last week, a part of an assignment I had in a writing class was to work as a springboard from the word starling, and Miss Susan was talking about them a little bit earlier. The song I played as a candlelighting was one result of that class, as was doing a little research into those mysterious creatures. How familiar are you with starlings? Have you ever noticed them? Yeah, those fabulous groups flying. That's called a murmuration. I asked my kid if he knew what a murmuration was. He said, "Is it a heart condition?" And apparently a lot of people aren't familiar with that word. So anyway, it's a breathtaking natural phenomenon where hundreds of thousands or even millions of starlings fly in tightly coordinated, synchronized, and constantly shifting patterns, often occurring at the dusk during winter. Starling murmurations can last from a few seconds up to 45 minutes and can involve a few birds or tens of thousands, and may include, like I said, other species of starlings and other families, and sometimes form abstract, dramatic shapes, patterns, and subtle gradations. In Denmark, millions join for the murmurations, and they call it the Black Sun because they fill up the sky. An initial study by ornithologist Edmund Sellos, he lived from 1887 to 1934, so it's not a recent study, sought to explain the murmurations of starlings through the idea of thought transference and, groupthink. But by 2013, physicists in Italy, along with mechanical and aerospace engineers working with Princeton University, determined that no single bird could control a flock, and certainly not the movements of more than 10,000 birds or 1 million. Researchers used a computer-simulated model to determine that each bird synchronizes with their 7 closest neighbors, creating overlapping groups. For every bird, the group is different. They communicate their movements. They hear faster than we do. They see faster than we do. And apparently, notice the subtle changes of the birds next to them, but they focus on three parameters: attraction, repulsion, and angular alignment. Thus, the flock moves as each individual bird synchronizes with its nearest group. Researchers also confirmed that a particular shape to the flock formation, which works best, is a pancake shape. Not balls and not long, straight layers or lines, but thinner, thicker, or spherical shapes did not improve performance. Rather, optimal performance was related to a pancake flopping around. They may look dense from whatever angle we see them, but they're probably not. That whatever we are seeing just looks that way. Anyway, and they fold back in on themselves like. They noted that information moves across the flock very quickly and with nearly no degradation, describing it as a high signal-to-noise ratio, enabled by a bird's very high temporal resolution. This is unlike the way that information travels across human NIDS. Just like the children's game telephone, if we started a whisper here and sent it all the way through the room, it might be very different before it got back here. Anyway, I personally was deeply struck with the thought of how efficient, adaptable, and beautiful this organizational model is. I have continued to play with that notion that if anyone could effectively translate that model into one we could employ, the whole human race in an organic, responsible, and comprehensive fashion would be able to address our needs and correct many of our tragic missteps. We know that as Unitarian Universalists, we hold pluralism as one of our 6 primary values, with always love at the center. And pluralism is a societal and political concept that promotes peaceful coexistence, mutual respect, and active engagement in diverse groups with differing beliefs, cultures, and interests, recognizing that multiple perspectives strengthen a society and contribute to the common good, moving beyond mere tolerance to collaboration in a democratic framework, building relationships across differences, and cooperating for shared goals. We are also currently in what we call the 30 Days of Love. It's the time period between Dr. King's birthday and Valentine's. And during that time period, are any of you signed up for the messages from Standing on the Side of Love? Well, every week they send out readings and meditations and coloring pages for the kids and videos and messages from the Standing with Love organizational strategy team within our movement. One of the videos that was sent this week was from the lead organizer for Siding with Love, Nicole Presley. She was offering some insight into how we might lead with moral clarity, collective care, and love that is liberating. She said, in order to organize any sort of efficient action, operation, or community, you have to understand the context you're trying to organize in. Grounding in context is being present to the other individuals involved and coming to understand their experienced culture and history. The effort has to be rooted in what is real to those you are working with, not necessarily what you see and understand. We cannot win the people without knowing their experiences and context and honoring that that is their truth. And if we don't have the people, we won't be able to move through to the other side of the things that we face. One-on-ones, as well as assemblies and places where we listen deeply, make it possible to begin to move towards mutuality and recognition of our interdependence. She also talked about the often made mistakes of showing up and assessing a situation and concluding that we know how to solve this. It's very apparent, and all we have to do is this. When in fact, the real issues and challenges are not apparent, and we don't have the answers because we don't know the culture that they're rooted in. The solutions that we thought obvious may be 100% dysfunctional in that context. If the actions are actually rooted in an understanding of the context, they are far more likely to be sustainable and sturdy. And it all requires faith. Faith in the underlying principles and power of the universe, faith in each other, and faith in humanity. That there is something good and worthy and worth fighting for to preserve and work toward. In those contexts, you find yourself caring about others who you may not even like. Synchronizing in any way with neighbors who we barely know, if at all, is not a reasonable expectation of humans, but maybe coordinating or harmonizing in some way is not totally out of the question. Homo sapiens are not automatically a cooperative lot. Have you noticed that? We are at least somewhat more prone to competition, resistance, and striving with one another. The Starlings model would call us to move beyond some of our more narcissistic tendencies and may preclude some of the creativity that, or the individual choices that we make all the time. I heard somebody yesterday on NPR who came from Ukraine talking about the things that they were most stunned with when they got to America was when they went to a movie theater, they had to choose a movie. When they went to a restaurant, they had to choose what to eat. I mean, they were talking about the perpetual choices that we have because of the freedom in which we live. Defining or figuring out how to translate the 7 closest neighbors and what the 3 aspects to focus on might be to mind and care for and attend to, that's a challenge. But I sat around and thought about, from my house, the 7 closest neighbors. At least 3 of them are MAGA. And the ones that aren't, of course, I know better. There are families I have not had a conversation with. Out of that 7, if I made an effort to know something about them and begin, maybe over time, to learn how their health is, what their concerns are, if they're hungry, how are their children? Do they have children? Do they want children? I mean, just getting to know the things that are a part of life about those people over time. This 7 people might consider expanding that to their 7 people. The willingness and cooperation are absolutely part of it, and the likelihood of humans following the starling's lead is pretty minimal. But it's not an impossible dream. It does ask us to stretch. Something else I heard on public radio this week was someone talking about, and I don't remember who the speaker was of either of these, and I apologize for that, but the reminiscing from the civil rights movement and the Vietnam War protests that we feel around us in some of the stuff that's going on, despite all the differences. People died in those too. And they took years to even reach the point that they got to. 35 or 40 years for the civil rights movement, more than that. 9 years for this Vietnam protest. The things that we're facing may not have quick fixes. And the only way that we grow our group is through a relationship. And somehow trying to extend the web of compassion that we hold as a primary part of our tradition. Working locally, building connections and relationships are effective means of building a movement, and maybe the most effective means of building a movement. 7 neighbors. Maybe you already know them all. Maybe not. We don't have to hurry. Yesterday, I took my dog out, and one of the neighbors I have never spoken to before was sitting on her front porch having a cigarette. And I just exchanged a comment saying, "Don't get too cold out here." First words we've ever exchanged. She said, I'm in the sun, and I'm going right back inside. But it was an easy conversation, and it was a start. Taking the 3 aspects that the starlings focus on: attraction, what topics and life experiences bring us closer together with each neighbor? And repulsion, what topics and life experiences drive us farther apart? Being mindful of that, not trying to alter them, just being mindful about it. And then for angular alignment, I thought, what is a functional angle of approaching and developing that relationship? What activities and common interests and overlapping concerns? In interfaith, we work around overlapping concerns. Been, in many ways, many times, a powerful network. When we show up present, open to listening, we can come to care about people and have compassion. When we have a relationship with them, we can conceivably ask them, like I said, to maybe think about what it would be like to grow their 7 closest neighbors. Love is the practice and hard work of stretching our spiritual self for the good of ourselves and another. We have to transform to grow and be better so that we can fight again. No one joins in and takes on that kind of work outside of their relationships and feeling perhaps understood by someone. A starling teaches that survival is not about being the loudest or strongest, but about listening, adapting, and knowing when to move together. Our closing hymn is one that was part of the prelude. Life Calls Us On, and I will invite choir members to come help us lead that. But I will ask you also to rise in body or spirit and sing it with us. Take courage, my friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. There is finally only one thing required of us. That is to take life whole, the sunlight and the shadows together, to live the life that is given us with courage and humor and truth. We have such a little moment out of the vastness of time for all our wondering and loving. Therefore, let there be no half-heartedness. Rather, let the soul be ardent in its pain, in its yearning, and in its praise. Then shall peace enfold our days, and glory shall not fade from our lives. Please stay for the congregational meeting, and thank you so much for being here today. When we leave, go in peace, go in courage and hope. One, two, three, four.